What's up everyone? Welcome to Best Bites Forever. Today I am making these baked pumpkin donuts. Hey, if you love to cook and you are not subscribed yet, go ahead and click on that subscribe button down below and let's rock them out. First, I want to go ahead and get my pans ready. So I'm just using a little bit of coconut oil, and I'm going to take a paper towel and just rub it all over inside of each of these little cavities. And if you don't have a donut pan, I'm going to leave a link to this one down below in the description. This one is awesome. Highly recommend. You are going to need 2 of these donut pans. So go ahead and finish oiling them up and set them over to the side. I am starting off here with 1 3/4 cup of AP flour. To that, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a half of a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. I am also adding in 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice, and of course I make my own. You can use store-bought or you can click on the link in the description. That will take you to my pumpkin spice recipe. And I'm also adding a half of a teaspoon of turmeric. This is completely optional. I am adding it in just for the color. It's going to give them a little bit more of an orangey color. It also adds a tiny bit of earthy flavor, so that is totally up to you. Give these a stir. And put this over to the side. In a separate bowl, I'm going to combine a half of a cup of olive oil, and you can also use canola oil if you want to. The olive oil does add a bit of flavor, but I use it because it's a little healthier. To that, I'm adding a half of a cup of white sugar and a half of a cup of brown sugar. And I'm going to mix it until it's really well combined, probably for a minute or two. Make sure that as you're mixing, you're stopping to scrape your bowl, the sides and the bottom along the way. And once your mixture looks like this, go ahead and add in 2 eggs and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Mix it up. Scrape the sides and bottom. Next, I'm adding in 1 1/4 cups of pumpkin. And we're going to mix that in. Next, we're going to add half of our dry ingredients. And we are going to be altering this with the milk, which is going to be a 1/4 cup of milk. Go ahead and mix this in on low. Scrape the sides and the bottom. Add in your milk, and that is a 1/4 cup. Stir it in, and I'm going to be mixing by hand from here on out so that we don't end up with tough donuts. And now the rest of our dry ingredients. There we go. And I'm going to use my portion scoop to fill these up. Just kind of the easiest way. You could use a piping bag if you want to, or you could use a measuring cup. It's going to be about a 1/4 cup per little thingy. You can give these a little shake to kind of even the batter out a little bit. These are going to go into the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 or 20 minutes, depending on your oven, obviously, and you want them to spring back when you touch them. And this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. Put them onto a cooling rack for about 5 minutes before you take them out of the pan. We're going to let them cool a little more, and we're going to make the glaze. And here we are 5 minutes later. I'm going to go ahead and start popping these out and putting them onto a cooling rack. Aren't they adorable? If you oiled your pan properly, and I guess depending on your pan also, they should come right out. Again, I will leave you a link to this pan because you can see it is fantastic as far as the donuts sticking and so forth. While these cool on the rack for another 20 or 30 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and make my glaze. And here I have 1 cup of powdered sugar. To that I'm adding 2 tablespoons of milk and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. You could also use a maple extract or like a bourbon extract or something else in here if you wanted to change up the flavors. Give this a stir. And I'm just going to go ahead and switch to my whisk to get some of those little lumps out. We definitely want this to be as smooth as possible. Once you get most of those lumps out, go ahead and put a piece of parchment paper down in your work area. And then we are going to put the donuts right on top of the parchment. Then I'm going to take my glaze and just dip them in. So it should be kind of slowly running down the edges of your donut. You see the little drips. It's not pouring off, but it is running off a little bit. That's about the consistency that you want. If it's running off too quickly, go ahead and add a little bit more powdered sugar to your glaze. And if it's not running off at all, then add a little bit more milk. Oh. Give that glaze a few minutes to dry, and these are ready to enjoy. If you liked this recipe, then please consider subscribing down below. Thank you so much for watching, and happy cooking, everyone.
BestBitesForever.com